everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, No More Secrets. As always, I'm your niece, Katie Albrecht.
And I'm your Aunt Mary Albrecht. And we just totally winged that. We didn't plan who was starting it. We just did it.
It's usually militaristic a little bit,
It is. And we talk and talk and talk about it before doing it. And this time we just did it. I think we're becoming very natural with this. I'm pleased.
I could see that.
I'm pleased with us.
Yeah. I'm pleased with us too, yeah.
It's been a while. We haven't been on, and I know things were posted, but we felt like we needed to do a formal in-person, announcement that Terry did pass away.
Which is, you probably, if you follow us on Instagram or other social medias, you probably saw that.
Right, but in case you didn't, that's why there's been the break. As I told you few episodes ago, that we usually only take breaks for tragedy, and here we are again. He died on April 19th. He died in his home. I wasn't there. He had asked me not to be there, and he didn't want Megan there either. He said, I do not want you guys watching me die. And we said, well, we don't know for sure how, but
you were out of the house, or were you out of the room?
Out of the house, both of us. Yeah. And that gave him permission to die. Megan had left 15 minutes earlier, his daughter. And I think it gave him permission to die. But he was with his older sister, who he really looked up to, and she was stroking his head. And his nephew and niece were there, and their spouses, and then Lydia was in the room caring for him. So he wasn't alone.
How did you find out about it? Did someone text you or call you?
Lydia texted me.
Texted you, okay.
Yeah, it was like his actual time of death was 3:08 p.m. on a Tuesday. So at least it wasn't like middle of the night, call people in kind of stuff, like Grandma was. She was, and, I think your dad, too, was middle of the night.
Do you, and this is, I was just thinking about this, like, do you remember what it felt like when you got the text?
Yeah.
Like, was it immediate just sadness? Was it kind of like shock? You didn't feel anything at first? Like, how did you feel like right when you got that?
It was shock.
Information.
It was shock, because no matter how much you think you're prepared for it, when the words are actually said, you're like, wow, I feel like I didn't think that would happen.
The world kind of stops for a couple seconds, at least in your immediate life.
It does. It just
stops moving.
And I actually thought it was going to be longer than that, just based on what the nurses were saying. He kind of was like this and then just shut down really fast. And so I was shocked. And plus it's a Tuesday afternoon and I'm just out on errands. And what's funny is Lydia, before he died, the caregiver, said he's very agitated right now. He's like, thrashing about and gesturing and all that, and his sister and nephew and niece had just gotten there, and she said, I think he's agitated because they're there. And I said, okay, well, you need to give him another dose of anti-anxiety then, because you want to keep the agitation down, because you don't want him to be scared. And so she didn't say okay, she didn't say anything. And then about 15 minutes later, I got a text that auto-corrected to, hi, it's gone. And I was like, oh, okay, good. Hi, it's gone. Okay, so the agitation is gone. Okay. And I'm like, why would she say hi? It's gone. And all of a sudden I got like, he is gone? Is that what that was supposed to be? Because Lydia, her autocorrect skills are minimal because of her language barrier. So she probably didn't even notice. Mm-hmm. So I wrote back, what? And then she called and she said, he's gone. I said, what do you mean? He's dead. And I went, and it was just like,
and then the world stopped.
It was like, it just hurt, Mm-hmm. But then I was like, okay, I'll be right there, because I had a lot to do. I had to call the nurse. They had to pronounce him dead, get the coroner there, get the funeral home, call Megan, get the body out of there. You just.
Did you just leave before this? You said Megan had left 15 minutes before.
Yeah, no, I was gone about an hour.
Okay.
Because I knew Lydia was there and Megan was there.
And then you dropped everything and
then I was just out on errands, and I just turned the car around, and I didn't think he was going to go right then. I mean, wouldn't have mind being in the house, even if he didn't want me in the room, but you just can't sit there and wait, and I needed to get some things done. I had to go to the bank to get money freed up for his funeral, and I had to get some medicine for myself, and there were just some important things. And because Megan and Jake were there and Lydia was there, and I knew his sister was on the way, I'm like, I'm going to go do some errands. Mm-hmm. And then he died during that. But that's what he wanted. He didn't want to die in front of me. So let me just tell you, the most dramatic thing, though, is watching them carry his body bag out. They didn't want me to watch. The funeral home people said, you don't want to see us packing him up into the body bag. Mm-hmm. So I said goodbye after he was dead and talked to him and held his hand. But then they closed the door, and the funeral director and his staff put Terry in a body bag and zipped it up. And then they carried him down the outside stairs. So
you didn't see that? And you didn't want to?
They recommended not, and I just thought, I don't need to see him being zipped up. I don't need to see that image.
Yeah.
So they just from experience, I trust them, and they don't think it's a good idea, because it's hard enough watching the body bag being put in the car, and then I watched it drive off. It's so dramatic. I didn't have that with Grandma because she was in the hospital. Mm-hmm. We had it with Grandpa, though.
We did, and I actually thought it was a nice, like, peaceful send-off when he was being rolled away. I can understand being like your spouse or something being a little bit different, where it's harder to see.
Did you see him being put in the body bag?
Not put in.
Yeah, see, that's what there was. The same funeral home. Yeah. No, I watched.
Put in. Okay.
I watched them take the body bag down the stairs. I followed.
That's what I mean. Was
put him in the car.
It was like kind of. We watched them go down the end of the hallway, and it was actually. It felt like not a nice way, but it felt like the normal way of ending life.
Yeah, it was. It was
not bad, not good, just is.
And it was calm, and everybody was respectful. It was very somber, but it was poignant. But for some reason, it was the same funeral home that did Grandpa, and for some reason, they recommend the family stay out of the room when they're actually putting them in the bag.
I can understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like maybe it's like the visual of seeing it. Once it's already covered, you don't see the person underneath it. You know it's them,
but you
don't see. Yeah,
you don't see him being stuffed in to a bag.
Because your natural instinct is probably to be like, no, take that off of his face.
Yeah, right.
Like, keep him uncovered. Like, he's fine, but he's not fine. He's passed away, So, but then once it's already covered, you don't have to go there with your mind,
Yeah, they just recommended it, and they did the same with Grandpa, and so I trust them, and so I didn't watch, but I did. So Oz helped the funeral staff carry Terry down, his employee Oz.
That's also very poignant.
And Oz was like, I'm here, like he wanted to do that. They needed an extra strong person to do so.
Well, I think there's funerals that where they still have the body there and everything, and
got the pallbearer.
It's almost like an honor to carry them out to the hearse or wherever to get the burial and everything.
I'm
doing this
still
for you,
here for you.
Yeah, like until the very end. Yeah, until you're in your resting spot. So it's it actually is nice that he's able to do that.
When they put him in the car, in the hearse or whatever, and they drove down our long driveway, I just stood up on the little ledge we have a little curb, and I stood up. And I watched till the last second, till they turned on River Road, and I saw them go through the trees.
Yeah,
I'll never forget that. And that was it.
Right. It's okay. Look, this is This was your guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk amongst yourselves.
we talked about this last week, that he was the strong guy that put you on his shoulders, like right at the beginning.
Oh yeah. And by the way, we do have a video of the funeral, so maybe we can link it to this episode if anybody wants to watch it.
Yeah, it's not on our channel, but it's
like just a link if you want to. Like
right.
People that I sent the link to all of my clients,
the people that you know and stuff.
But people that we don't know. If you're interested, it was a really beautiful send off.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke. His friend Jan Leisure spoke, and his daughter spoke, and I thought we all did a really good job. I
thought it was a great service.
Giving everybody a picture of him. So.
Yeah, it was a good combination of, like, you guys had some funny moments. I now think of Jan Leisure as Toots every time I see her.
Yeah.
And I've heard him say that before, too. So it's...
he doesn't say... He's actually said it to a few people, but not only people that he was close to,
Yeah, and I think that was nice, and there was touching moments. Megan's speech about him and her being emotional was very touching, because that is, in my mind, how a daughter should grieve her father.
Yeah,
and talk about them.
But she was really good at it. Like, I thought she would be more emotional, but she held it together, and the thing with the pendulum and all that, it was just really...
That was really nice,
yeah.
And then your speech was a good representation of him, your relationship, and, that part of his life, and
how we met, and then him being a superhero and being punny.
He was very,
Actually,
a lot of puns.
I thought of one later that would be not really a pun, but would have been fun to say in the send off, because my friend Kathy from high school, we've been friends as couples all through the years, and she wrote me a card and said, try to think of him this way. And so one time we were at Ravinia, and we were on the grass, and Kathy was serving us wine and grapes. And Terry says, you can't drink wine and eat grapes at the same time. They both get confused going down. And Kathy, that was like one of the first times she met him. She's never forgotten that part of him. Like, she just thought that was so funny.
Oh my god!
But that's so Terry. You know, like, you can't do that. They're going to get confused.
Megan called him a pun slinger.
Yeah, yes.
And a quick one, too. And he always had something right at the top of his head. I mean...
Really hard to understand how he did. Yeah, he was amazing with his sense of humor. And like I said in the service, he taught me how to laugh, and he taught me how to cope.
Mm-hmm.
And I said in the service, I said I needed those lessons. And obviously... from our upbringing with serious grandma and grandpa, and then, really hard with your dad, there wasn't a lot of laughter.
Not
day to day, not spontaneously. It
right.
wasn't like you just came home and said a joke and laughed at the table. Nope. Very serious.
I was also thinking of, you told me this when I lived with you guys, but something that Terry taught you was, like, if you have a big meal and host people, that you'll, like, wait the next morning to do the dishes or something like that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you would do it, like, right that night. But then he's like, no, just enjoy the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And then do it tomorrow, But actually, and then you actually do it tomorrow, but it's kind of like a peace of mind thing that it's just easy to go on to to enjoy yourself, like, in the moment, and then deal with, like, the cleaning up later.
And he taught me that later, but there's no way he taught me that.
Right.
And it wasn't until later in our relationship that I actually let down and stopped doing the dishes right at the moment, because you're so tired and, you just want to go to bed.
It's just a recipe for disaster. Yeah.
And then you end up crabby because nobody's helping you and whatever. And he's like, I'll help you in the morning, And so once I started doing that, it was great. But grandma and grandpa, no way. Nope, had to get that all done. Even before serving dessert, do you remember how we would have to get the dishes cleaned up and rinsed and even into the dishwasher before serving dessert? But then people would leave the table and go do something else, and then she'd be mad that people were, where's everybody? Where did everybody go? I mean, the control was...
Momentum has ceased.
Has ceased because, we're sitting here waiting and we're full, and
Right.
we want to move around a little, but we don't want to do dishes. So we're going to go somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. It can be done the next day.
Yeah. Do you guys
enjoy
do
the
that
moment
when you party, or do you do dishes that night?
We do it the next day.
Okay, good.
There's no way we're doing it.
And Matt's okay with that too. Like, just meaning because he's a chef, and sometimes you would think that maybe he would be particular. I mean, I know he is particular about his kitchen, but he's okay with leaving it until the next day, which is great.
Yeah,
because you need to have both.
And he puts on. He's like Terry in that sense, where he puts on big spread food, like a very specific and tasty stuff that you don't necessarily see at a normal dinner party, or at least he tries to,
Yeah.
And he just
by the
wants
time
to enjoy it by the time it gets to the actual party,
And then when even when the party's over, not go back to work. Like,
right.
meaning,
we're
get
tired.
some rest. Yeah,
we've had some drinks.
Yeah.
We want to go to bed, or
Yeah.
at least go up towards, start to wind down.
Yeah, it just not work anymore.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like it was always work with our family. It was always
everything in order, kind of thing.
just work all the time. Anyway, but
so, what is? I'm getting a little bit of a picture of it, but what does the grieving look like now for you? I mean, you get moments of sadness, and then you feel a little bit better, or what is it? What is it like to grieve your spouse?
So because of his situation, the first few days was extreme relief, because he was so sick in the end. He was so sick. I couldn't even believe, his legs were gangrene. He had no circulation from the knee down because of the heart disease. His toes were turning black and disintegrating off. He was slumped over most of the time. He was incontinent. It was so awful. And he simply kept saying, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. He just thought he was going to get better. I mean, first of all, his level of pain tolerance was huge. But second of all, the denial, it was actually, in honesty, very hard on me, because I would have liked to talk a little bit more, like, this is really bad, Terry. Your toes are falling off. Like, you need to lie down in the hospital bed.
It would have been nice to have like a moment that kind of talks about your life together or something,
Yeah,
like
just that.
what you mean to each other, something would have been.
Thank you.
I
You
think,
did
helpful.
a good job or whatever. But the one thing he did say to me when we decided to go off all treatment was that I had done a good job of sucking it up, because he told me to suck it up, Buttercup, because he didn't want me to be sad around him. He wanted to fight. And he said I did a good job. So that was good. But at the end, he would not put his legs up, and they were cracked open and bleeding, and bodily fluids were falling out onto the floor. And I'm just saying that because I need to, because I'm living like in a horror show in my mind, because he's literally slumped over in the chair with his legs decaying in front of me while being incontinent, but he still wasn't in depends. So he was just, there were smells of gangrene and body decay, body odor, because he wouldn't shower for a couple of days, and then urine and feces. And I was all by myself, and I can't do this. This is a horror show. This is awful. And it's not, I mean, Terry was so gone by then, but he was still, like, his body was still trying to, like, I'm going to sit upright. I'm not going to put my feet up. So it wasn't until the last 2 days that we got him into a hospital bed, and then we could clean him up and, make him look handsome again, comb his hair, change him, just wash him, get his legs wrapped, and then he was peaceful. But before that, it was a nightmare. And so when he first died, I was like, oh, thank God. Because I don't know what else is going to happen to him. Like how much more decay do I need to watch? Like it's like most people's bodies die first and then they decay, but not him.
Right.
And, but then like and then there was the funeral to get through. So that was 4 days later. And then that whole week after the funeral, I was also relieved because the funeral was done and people were out of my house and I was tired and I could, but then that Friday, so the funeral was Saturday, and the following Friday, all of a sudden it hit me, the permanence of it. Mm-hmm. And I was no longer numb and I was no longer relieved. Then I was just like, oh my gosh, and then you feel guilty because at that time I wanted him to go because look at his body. He was so miserable,
Right.
And so then you feel guilty for wanting him to go. And then you're like, oh, maybe I should have had him back. Like I should have kept him around longer or not wanted him to go. It's so complicated. So then that morphs into the awareness, that it's gone. And that's when you have to go back, that he's gone and we are no longer a couple. And then that morphs into panic because you got a lot of years left and it's like, oh, so then you got to pull into the moment and be like, okay, what am I going to do this next hour? What am I going to do now? And that's what I did. But then I found it was like getting more and more difficult to go home to the empty house where he was always around because his office was there and his shop was there. So even when he was healthy, he might be off at a job for 4 hours, but as you know, when you lived with us, he was home, he was cooking, TV was on, life was, full, and it was a home. And even being sick as he was, and he stopped cooking and all, he was always home. And
Right.
he was up in his room and the TV was on and the phone would ring and the text would go and I'd hear him cough and hear him talk and when that went away, it was at first and then I had to put Dixie down 8 days before and I was
Right.
just like, this place is so quiet now. It went from one extreme to another. So I stopped going home for a while. Like I'd go home for the cats to feed them, but I didn't sleep there. I slept here at the loft a few nights. And then that has stopped. I haven't slept here since last Sunday. I go home now every night and it's getting easier.
It's probably something that comes with practice.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I have to face it.
Yeah.
I can't just not go to my home. I want my bed. I want to go to my home and my animals are there and I've got to just get past it. So it's different than obviously with grandpa or grandma or your dad, but it's not like I'm shocked. I mean, I was shocked in the moment that it happened because I didn't think it was going to happen right then. I mean, you're never ready for the moment. But overall, I've been preparing for this for almost 2 years,
Right.
So, and I'm going to be okay. But I have moments of sadness that my therapist says I just need to feel. Try not to.
That's annoying, isn't it?
It is so annoying because I'm like, I would rather just do something else.
Right. Avoid it.
Avoid it.
Distractions. Yeah. So what is next in regards to, the next chapter of life?
So for me, I want to be single. I'm looking forward to getting to know me with just me. I mean, I have a lot of friends. I've got you for the Albrechts and just a lot of support. But I want to learn to just be me and not part of a couple. And I really want to soak that up for a while because it got demanding at the end because he wasn't himself. He was looking for things in me that we had never been about before. Mm-hmm. Spending time doing nothing or whatever. Like we were always very independent. We would go days without spending a lot of time together. But when we did, it was great. you know.
Yeah.
And we knew if anybody called, it would be fine. We would be there in a heartbeat. But at the end, he became more like my dad, like upset with me that I wasn't doing enough, or that I wasn't hanging around enough, or I need to slow down, I need to this or that or whatever. And so, and I didn't change, and I've been working on this since he died. And I even, like I said, I'm writing him letters. I didn't change in our relationship. I'm as busy as I've been for 30 years with him.
Right.
In the sense of that we've always been this way, and we've respected it in each other. But he changed because he was sick. So, and I'm forgiving of that, of course, but now I really want some time where I'm not being told I'm not doing enough, or I'm not in the right place, or I'm not staying long enough, or I need to do this or that and this and that. I just want to do my life and just be like, make my own choices. I mean, I'm in the driver's seat, you know.
Being single's nice.
I'm good at it.
I love being in the relationship that I'm in.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But I was single for 4 years before I was dating Matt.
Yeah. And that was the first time you were single that long of a time since
Yeah.
starting to
And
date.
I went on dates.
Yeah.
I'll say that, but I never was like in a relationship. And I thought it was a very it was a challenging part of life, because it was also conveniently through the death of my dad and the grief and all that stuff. But it was also really healthy, because I like feel like I got to know myself a lot better. I was more confident in what I wanted, not in a partner necessarily, but just in everything.
Just in your life. Yeah.
Just in life. Yeah. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. You know, like being single is good.
Yeah.
And if you shouldn't want to be in a relationship just to be in a relationship. It should be that you like this person and they seem like a good addition to your already really great life.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's when you usually get the best relationship, is when you're
Not
okay
looking
with
for
yourself. And if it happens, it happens. But if it doesn't, it doesn't, as opposed to trying to make something into what it isn't, you know?
Right.
I was a good single person. I mean, I never even legally married the guy. I didn't move in with him until the year 2000, and we started dating in 1992. So for 8 years, I lived separately, and we just had a good symbiosis. He had already been married. He loved his freedom. It just worked. So I'm confident that I'll get that side of me back. I also want to write more. I really need to write. Writing helps, right? RIGHT. Because the book was so cathartic for us. And I think just writing about Terry, even if I don't put it out there, but I just want to write. I want to write about death. I want to write about life. I want to write about hospice and the process of dying, and I want to write about Terry and love and all that, and then the podcast is especially important to me, and so I just want to have freedom to do that more, and just have some time to breathe. I mean, I've been a caregiver for 8 years, and I just need a break. So we're going to hope that Steve stays as healthy as he's doing. He's doing well for himself. And hopefully nothing will happen with him, because, I'm tired.
Right. It's been 8 years. Yeah.
But Katie and I were talking before this, and we were kind of making a parallel in that I've been feeling held down by illness. Certainly not by Terry and our relationship, but by illness with Grandma, Grandpa. Steve even had open heart surgery.
Yeah.
And then Terry. And Katie feels...
It sounds so frivolous now after you say all that. You should have said mine first.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Should have gone
However...
I am on the same level. I mean, okay, mental weight is mental weight. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter the circumstance.
And it's big.
I mean, it sounds very frivolous, but I am putting on a wedding. And those of you that have put on a wedding before,
Which I've never done.
you know that it takes up like everything that you're not, everything in your life that you're thinking about, like just in your day-to-day stuff, the spaces in your mind that maybe aren't occupied with what's in front of you is like wedding, you know? So then you're just always thinking about it, and there's always like something that you have to like prepare for, or like whether it's saving up for a certain thing, or you have to coordinate all these vendors and like get a schedule together for all of them. It's like another job putting on this big event, which is why there's so many careers in this industry, because you are essentially doing another job in addition to your other job and your podcast or whatever it is
you're doing, your life
and your social life and your like
and your spouse or your fiance,
right? Yeah, you know? Like all of these components, and then you have this other big thing that's just looming, you know. So once we get to that point, which I'm obviously excited about, but once I'm past that, it's kind of in a way, a new beginning. Actually, no, in a lot, it is a new beginning. I'm getting married. I'm starting a new life, you know?
And you don't have this big thing. And it really is similar, because I go about my life and think, Terry's death, you know, and it's like I'm stuck until I can get past that, because I know it's coming.
Right.
You know, obviously one is sad and one is joyous, but it's still big. And it's still a point in time that you are looking forward to getting past so that you can do something else.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And then I can focus on the next part of life.
Yeah.
And from our discussion earlier, I mean, I was joking around about how I'm going to get depressed afterwards, because all of a sudden,
yeah,
it's just that big change. And I'm sure I'll feel like a little bit of
a huge letdown. A
letdown. Thank you. Appreciate Oh, you mean like after the wedding, not the day, not the of the wedding.
Oh, no, I meant after your honeymoon is what I meant. It's gonna suck. You know why? Because of your reverend.
Right. And all of the other people that are involved, right?
It's just gonna suck.
No, I do think it's gonna be a big change, and then my friend Maddie was saying that she, like, once it's over, you have like all this free space in your mind.
Oh yeah, so she knows. Yeah,
of course, yeah. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the next thing that I can focus on more, and like, you know,
having more money,
more time, more ability to go vacation, because I'm feeling a little bit of, I don't know if it's burnout or what, but I haven't. I know you can't relate because you don't go on a lot of vacations, but for me, I haven't gone on vacation in a while now, and I can feel the effects of it. Like I need the break.
Yeah, or just to know that you can.
Just to know that I can, and that yeah. I have the PTO for it, or something like that. You know,
exactly.
Like it's just, I don't. All that stuff kind of affects and builds up, and it's for a good thing. But it is still exciting to start the next chapter, you know.
It might be interesting to do a whole episode on Bridezilla. Like, not you, but just people, like how, like different stories on how people just flip.
We can do some like Reddit apps or something like. Have you heard of Reddit?
No.
It's like a whole website dedicated to forums of like every topic imaginable.
Okay.
Pretty much. And we can read some of the Reddit threads of like Bridezilla or something, which would be kind of fun.
Because
actually.
People turn into, they just get crazy with the stress. And a lot of these people even have wedding planners, but they just want it to be so perfect or whatever. Or maybe it's just so much input all the time.
Yeah. And it's new.
And they've never done, you've probably never
done it before.
Yeah,
unless
or
it's
not
like
at the grand scale, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, this is your kid's wedding that you're putting on or something like that, but then it's because then you might have done it for yourself.
But then you have your kids' Bridezilla emotions or whatever, you know?
Right. And I think that would be kind of fun to talk about, because I know that there's situations that are significantly worse than mine when it comes to wedding planning. Like, for instance, if you have someone else paying for it, they get a say in it, but if it's not the bride and groom, then there can be some heads butting.
Right.
Whereas we're getting a little bit of help. And I really appreciate the help that we're getting, but I'm paying for the brunt of it.
You chose that so that you could do it your way, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I admire that amazingly
and
much.
It's been a challenge and an exciting one to save up for it. But I'm ready to spend my money on other things. You know? Like, I think it'll be fun.
But that day, and then you'll have videos and pictures and stuff, and you'll be like,
Right.
wow, I did that. I mean,
I really want to look. I think
Yeah.
I'm going to look back on it and be like, "This. I'm so glad that I did it the way that I wanted to."
the way you wanted to, and it's not like it's your element to throw a wedding.
Nope. Not at all.
Even close.
Oh my gosh, I was talking to a makeup and hair artist the other day because I'm still looking for that.
Because the one
Yeah,
resigned or whatever.
I think we talked about it on here. Yeah, that we
Yeah,
had my original quit or whatever. But she was asking me what I like wanted for my wedding, like what I wanted for a hairstyle, and for some reason I didn't even think about that before I was on the call with her.
You're like, that's such
I was like, well, I don't know. I could do either an updo, a half up, half down, or a downdo. So all of the options are on the table. And it's like, yeah, someone better than me probably would have prepared for that, you know?
well, not better, somebody more into that.
Sure, more into party planning and
Yeah, I mean, or
in their
more
element.
into like people that imagine their wedding since they were 10,
Right,
you know, and that's just not you.
which I didn't really have time to do that.
You had no time. You were just trying to survive.
Exactly, yeah, you can't really have room for those kind of plans when you're in survival mode, you know?
I think
You're only looking day to day, you're not looking towards the future that far away, you
Isn't
know?
it interesting that you are recognizing that more and more? It seems like you are recognizing that more and more as the years go on, how you were so in survival mode all the time. Like you really were just like
Yeah, I think
getting through the day.
I think life would have been a lot different. It's kind of interesting to think about that. Like how life would have changed, like just in the little nuances from day to day. How I would learn, I think, faster how to be socially less awkward in situations. Because in high school, I felt so uncomfortable just being around people. you
Which
know?
is interesting, and you and I are similar that way because we were popular. I mean, popular enough. We had a lot of friends.
I was not popular. I don't think I was at all.
Okay. I was popular.
I think I had friends in different groups.
Okay.
But I never saw myself as.
I
like,
wasn't part of the popular group. No way.
That's what I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I
so
didn't
then
want to be because I didn't feel adequate,
and they were.
and they were bitches.
Yeah. And they were
At the
already
time.
drinking at the time.
Yeah.
I thought my dad was an alcoholic, so I was like, I'm not going to drink in high school. So I was like sworn off against it. I changed my mind shortly after high school, you know. But I kind of that wasn't my kind of people.
Right. Okay. So yeah, no, I wasn't part of any group. I had friends in a lot of groups.
I think that's probably the same with
But
me
I
too. But
was
I never
liked.
I never felt comfortable. Like
Okay.
I always felt like I was not like cool. enough.
I felt damaged. I felt like, if they really knew the real me or whatever, they wouldn't like me. I kind of was putting on a show,
Yeah.
like being happy and being nice. Being nice was the big thing,
And then I don't know why there was some people that I just felt like I couldn't talk. Like all of a sudden I just couldn't speak. Like I felt like like they were better than me or something like that. It was probably the popular kids or whatever, but I don't know why I let people have that power over me back then. I think I would have learned it sooner if I wasn't so busy,
so busy
in my mind with
trying to survive. Seriously, I mean, good Lord.
Yeah. I think I would have leurned it sooner, basically, to bring that all full circle,
So you wouldn't be the type that would be laying in bed dreaming about, when I get married to my prince someday, I'm going to have my hair like this. No time.
Yeah, so now I have to do that all now.
Yeah, right. Now they ask you questions. You're like, what? So.
Yeah, they asked me questions that I should have been prepared for, and I just wasn't. But
after the wedding and after the honeymoon, then the letdown for a little bit, and then what? In your mind,
I might feel a little sad, just because it was such a big thing that I'm working towards. But I'm looking forward to the next chapter. I feel like I'll have more freedom to do more stuff with the podcast. I also want to do more writing. Probably less on I'll do some like real life stuff, but I mean mostly if I wanted to write another book, I think I would want to do like a fiction.
Yeah.
Because I think my imagination has a lot of really
You'd
good
be
ideas.
good at that. Yeah.
And I think that would be a new fun challenge that I haven't done before.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's how my brain thinks. Like putting on a wedding, that's a challenge that I've never done before.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
So I think that would be the next step. Plus, I am excited to take more vacations and give myself the rest that I need.
Yeah.
And
not always have to have this deadline.
Exactly.
You know, like, oh, shoot, I'm so tired. Oh, I got to get back to that person. Oh,
there's a lot of places that both Matt and I want to see. And
oh, yeah.
So we want to go,
Okay.
we want to travel. I want to take more trips with, I love taking like friend trips.
Mm-hmm.
Like me and Maddie this past year
Yeah.
took a trip to Washington, and it was like the most relaxed that I'd felt in a long time.
Yeah, stuff like that. And then Matt, how is he doing with the stress of it all? Does he feel the same?
Yeah, he's I think over it too. He's not doing all the coordination of like all the vendors, but because he works at our venue, he's doing that stuff more. So that includes the food, scheduling the appointment for the tasting, making sure or the schedule of what time the wedding's at, and like he's dealing with that, like the venue stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And then he worked really hard to pay off the student loan so that we would go into marriage debt free.
That's nice.
And now he's still saving up for like honeymoon stuff. pretty
Yeah.
much. So he's
looking forward to
just life.
the new chapter. You can just be for a while. Like just
let
be.
life, like see where it goes.
Yeah.
I think that's what's kind of exciting about it, is that actually for both of us is that we may have a plan, but that doesn't mean that life is actually going to go that way.
Yeah. You'd like to just not have a plan for a while.
Just not have a plan and go in the direction the current takes us.
There you go. And
I think would be
then,
good.
like, what kinds of places do you want to see? Where do you want to travel? I mean, you're going to Portugal for your
We're
honeymoon.
going to Portugal.
What else?
We've thrown out like national parks.
Yeah.
Because we love the nature stuff. We've talked about doing a East Coast trip in the fall so we can see all the cool like colors of the trees and stuff.
Yeah.
I would like to see the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee.
Okay.
And I mean,
What about overseas besides Portugal? You
We
did
would-
Belgium, you did France.
we did Belgium, France, and England for like a night. But we would see more Europe, but I don't think we're going to, that's not in our immediate plans. We'd probably do more like a Caribbean also in the next few years or whatever,
Would you ever want to go to Australia or New Zealand?
Yes, but I
But
feel
it's
like
so far.
it's so far, so expensive,
Yeah.
and you need to almost take like a month.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I'm able to do that, absolutely. The only thing is with Australia and New Zealand is that they have huge spiders and like other like bugs, and
They do?
oh my gosh, because it's hot there, and bugs thrive in warm weather.
Is it
and
hot
stuff.
all the time? I thought it was reverse of us. Like they get winter
They
in
probably
July.
I'm thinking. I mean, there is a vast desert there, so there is like there are different climates, in one country or continent or whatever. I think it's like as big as the United States.
But it must be hot enough to keep those big things alive.
Right. It's probably not the whole thing, but there are definitely parts where they thrive, those big bugs and stuff. I found a spider in my cabinet this morning, and I was like, nope.
This morning?
Yeah, and because I don't like to kill spiders. I tried to put the cup over it, but because it was on the cabinet, it like crawled underneath the cabinet. And then I got nervous because I didn't want to put my face under it and have it drop. So I just left it.
What's a spider?
Right. But I mean, I don't like having them there.
Oh.
I won't kill them, but I'll like move them outside.
Okay.
I couldn't do that with this one, but if it was like a big spider, I think I would just run away or something, you know?
Oh, to have, you know, speaking of which, big, meaning big, remember I thought there was maybe a rat in our basement and Eric put in the traps and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did come up with a mouse this long.
That's crazy.
And it was dead, and Oz got rid of it. And the rest of the traps have been, you know, free and empty since that. So I think Eric solved our problem.
Nice.
Because he sealed up all the holes that he saw that Terry actually didn't see. I mean, he thought he had them sealed up, but you know, Eric's a professional, so shout out to Eric. You did it, man.
You did your job. Good job.
But for me, it's huge because I'm living there by myself, and I don't want like huge rodents, like running past me.
Right.
Now, I guess there usually, like Eric said, there's not usually rats in the area, and so it was just a big mouse, but it was big.
Yeah, there you go.
So shout out to Eric.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, so. It is hard when you have to deal with like pests and stuff in your house, though.
Well, and spiders and those kind of things, I would always call Terry. You know, Terry, help me. No, right. I don't have that. Where was Matt to help with the spider?
Sitting on the couch.
He doesn't care.
Watching me.
He thinks it's funny.
Yes.
He's not interested in getting rid of the spider?
He just thinks they're just would rather me do it, or you know, he didn't want to get up or something like that.
But like,
he doesn't care that much.
But meaning it doesn't bother him, right?
Right.
That a spider's there. That's funny.
Yeah. I bet it's still there. I'll take a look for it. I saw its little like legs underneath. I could just see it. Like you go underneath to try to trap it, and then it like falls or something. Oh, it's too much.
I don't understand having a cat, and I've got 3, and I still have mice.
Oh, they are the worst at their job. Like, you gotta. I know. Like you have one job to keep us pest free. You know, like we're starting to get ants now because it's warming up, and I'm like, Lando will just stare at them and like kind of like,
like, well, this is fun. Look at I do that, they move.
No, pay your rent. You know,
kill them.
Yeah, swipe them all up. You know. But yeah, so I think they're different scenarios. Yours is an end of life and mine is kind of a beginning of a new one. Mm-hmm. But we both are beginning a new life.
And we are, and it's also the end of a big stressor for both of us.
Mm-hmm. A big stressor and a big joy, because with your husband it was both, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but it was stressful just to get to that point at the end. I mean, before it was stressful, it was good, but then it got stressful.
Which didn't really seem that stressful because you keep hoping for the other.
Right.
But really at the end, it got really stressful. I even said to him, I said, you need to go. He had fallen asleep on the toilet, and he was like this. And Lydia and I were trying to get him up for almost 2 hours. And he, not now, I'm tired, not now. And I finally said, Terry, you need to go. Like, you need to die. Like, you're slumped over on the toilet for 2 hours, you're naked, and you're fighting us off. It's like, you know.
Yeah, and then you didn't have someone to strong enough to bring him over.
Exactly, and it's like, it's time for you to go. And I was trying to do that as a spouse. I was trying to say, it's okay. You need to let go. You're tired. You're tired. Give in to the fatigue. But nope, he still was, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was, at the end, it wasn't him. So, but yeah, there's also the loss of who he was before that, but ultimately what we have in common is this big thing that is ending, and it's like, what's next? Because you're so consumed with that big thing that you can't even think of anything else. Because you got your job and everything, and then all these pressures. So it's like, wait, what? Now I have time?
Right.
So
And isn't that exciting?
it is. It is. I'm excited. I am. I'm tired and I'm panicked sometimes, but I'm also excited. And I got to prepare for my reverendship at your wedding.
Your minister duties?
I need to start that now because it's going to be at least a 2-hour speech about me.
I was going to say, if it like gets too long, can I do the thing at the Oscars where they start playing loud music or something?
Yeah, like get her off the stage. Oh, but wait, she hasn't done the vows yet.
Yeah, so I was just looking at I'm making the schedule for it because you have to figure out the timeline for your photographer and everything. Mm-hmm. And you have like a half-hour window, but like it's pretty tight.
Oh, I have a half hour?
At the most, yeah.
Which includes the vows.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But we're just doing generic. If you can do like, we're just doing like the whatever. Do you supply vows?
I do. I have a book.
Oh, good. Okay. Again, see, these are things I don't know, so I have to figure that out.
When they have different categories of vows, which is generic and religious and personal vows.
Throwing a curveball and make it all about God. Because we're super religious.
And Katie will be like on her knees.
Doing spiritual yummies. Oh. Preach it, Lord, you know.
You made like a gospel thing, you know. Yeah. But you just want the basic vows is what you're saying, right? Traditional is what they call it. You know, it's not
we'll do something more personal.
Religious, anything like that.
We'll do something more personal privately, I think.
Yeah, or if you want to give a speech, or I don't know if you guys are thinking of talking at your reception at all, but some people do that.
Yeah, we'll see. Some people have to give a speech, I think.
Okay.
But we'll figure that out.
I don't have to do any more than the reverendship, right?
And nope.
Okay, good.
Hit up the open bar. Take a couple pictures with us maybe if you want to.
Okay. Do I need to wear a cloak with a sash?
With a sash? If you want to wear a sash that says what, like Reverend Mary on it, personalize it?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think I'll just wear
by all means.
I think I'll just try to blend into the color scheme. See, I haven't thought about this stuff until just now because, well.
What does a minister wear to a wedding?
What does a minister wear?
I guess they normally wear their robes and stuff.
And the collar.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Just wear a dress and the collar or something. Just add it on. And then you can do your sash that says minister.
And my sash. Okay.
Just so people know.
They need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll have the sash, the collar, but the dress will go with the color scheme. It won't clash. It won't be exact, but
okay.
Or does it need to be white or black?
You're gonna wear white? Is that really what you're thinking?
Shoot.
You're gonna be that girl that shows up to the wedding in white when you're not
in a fluffy white dress with some lace.
We can switch places then. I could be the minister. Could be the bride. But you already have so many hats at the wedding because you're the minister, you're the flower girl, aren't you?
I want to walk on my knees down the aisle and be the flower girl.
And you're gonna step in as the DJ if we needed it.
And the cook? No. Matt won't. Yeah, no way.
It's gonna be like serving us wine as the meal, you know, but like put it on a plate or something so it looks like it's food.
Yep. Here's wine.
Here's your wine
and a side
soup.
of wine.
Yeah.
Wine soup.
That'd be perfect.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So
I'm looking forward to it. It's 4 months and 10 days away or something.
Mm-hmm. Crunch time.
I mean, it's actually close now.
It is.
It seems so far when you first start it.
Because it was like 2 years away.
Right.
And now
because of COVID and all.
Right. Because of COVID, because of
finances,
being able to save up, being debt free when we enter it.
Yeah.
Because we both weren't. I mean, we started with having our student loans and stuff like that, and I've already paid off credit cards and health care stuff. So
I love it. I'm so proud of you guys. Really, that's a great way to start your married life.
I think it's a clean slate.
Yeah. Now it's us. Before it was you with that and him with that. Now this is our budget and this is our finances.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot.
So shall we
Yeah, I'm
wrap
tired. It was more emotional to talk about this than I thought. I haven't been a crying mess much, but just
it up? It'll come out in pockets.
yeah, and being back on the podcast, and the last time we were on the podcast, he was alive, so there's sort of that trigger, know.
Yeah.
But there's always the first, everything the first, without him, kind of thing. So
Right.
yeah. So
thank you guys for listening.